Hello everyone, welcome back to Witchinary. If you have yet to subscribe to this channel, then please do so because I'm trying to get you in the Yuletide spirit all month long. And today I wanted to show you my creations using the Simon Says Stamp Kit for December 2018 called Holiday Cheer. It brings a lot of goodies, one too many goodies for me to list out everything that actually comes in this kit. So instead I'm just going to link to this kit below and you guys can check it out. The kit itself is sold out, but you can still get all the items individually. My favorite things that came in this kit are definitely the Cartabella Santa's Workshop stickers and paper pad, as well as the Simon Says Stamp Holiday Cheer stamp set and the Festive Berries Distress Oxide ink. My kit this month, guys, came extremely late. Like, I just got it last weekend. It took me 2 nights of filming this, and by the time I was done filming everything without editing, the 2019 January kit was already out. So I hope this is not a thing the Simon Says Stamp plans to keep doing, because I will be very, very upset. Anyway, this video is super long and my apologies for moving super quickly through my card making, but let's go ahead and get started, okay? For my first card, I took out this winter wind paper from the paper pad and I cut it to be slightly smaller than the standard A2 size card. I then took a small piece of scrap paper and I made a snowy hill border at the bottom of my card just to anchor the stickers that I was going to be playing around with. I used my thermal web tape runner just to adhere it down. I reached for my stickers from Cartabella and I decided to use Santa's Workshop. It could be a gingerbread house, I'm honestly not entirely sure. But I decided to prop it up on foam squares to give my card a little bit of dimension. And then I also took the smaller pickup truck and I just adhered that directly onto my panel. I wanted to play around with perspective and I figured, like, if the truck was parked out back, it would be smaller than the house. Like, that makes sense, right? Anyway, once I was done with that, I used my Scotch foam tape to raise up my panel on top of my card base, and I then just flip it over just to kind of see how it looks before I take off any of the backing. I realized that my card was still a little too plain, so I decided to add a little razzle dazzle by getting some Lawn Fawn mistletoe cord and wrapping it around my panel to make a little bow. I love Lawn Fawn cord. I wish I owned a lot more than I actually do, but for this particular kit, I felt the mistletoe Lawn Fawn cord was perfect. I felt that the colors of the cord perfectly complemented the card bases that were given in this kit, so it was just kind of the perfect thing to grab from my stash for this. Anyway, even though I take off the backing because I'm satisfied with this bow, I still felt like this card needed a little bit more interest, so I had a bunch of leftover strips lying around from some previous card making videos that I've yet to post, but they are filmed at least. And I decided to use those strips to heat emboss the sentiment for this card, essentially. And yeah, guys, I'm going to be pulling a lot of random pieces of paper from random places. I need you guys to understand my craft desk is a hot mess. So I just have a bunch of little pieces of paper that I can't bear to part with, and I'm just going to be grabbing for them. Sorry if that upsets you, but it is what it is. I am a hoarder and lover of paper, and I refuse to part with my paper unless it's being used in a card. Anyway, I go ahead and I emboss the sentiment, wishing you a very Merry Christmas, using some Ranger Princess Gold embossing powder, and then I decide to start playing around with these little red strips and their positioning on the card. Lately, I've been obsessed with, like, red on, like, sentiments for whatever reason. I'm even using them on my Instagram feed, so I really wanted to bring that style into my actual card making. I used my tape runner to adhere my sentiment down to my card base itself, and that finished off this first card. For my next card, I really wanted to try out the Daniel Smith watercolors, so I took out a piece of Strathmore Watercolor paper and my Mini Misty. I took out my Mini Misty solely because I could not find my acrylic block, which should really tell you the status of my craft desk. It's a mess. I'm going to heat emboss my images using some Paper Source white embossing powder, and then I'm just going to do a little time lapse so I can show you all of the coloring that I did. I don't know why I hated my Santa so much, because looking back on it right now, I think he's adorable. I'm really sad I didn't use him in another card, but I do end up using my tree, and I do fussy cut my tree out, and then I am going to use the paper, that has Santa sleigh on it. I'm going to cut it so it could be slightly smaller than my A2 size card base, just because I really like having a little border. It makes me kind of happy to see, so that's just a preference. You don't have to. I'm going to take this very random piece of apple green cardstock from Simon Says Stamp that I have lying around on my desk, and I don't really have the heart to get rid of it, so I'm going to use it to break up the busyness of my background. I'm going to tape it down to my card panel, and I'm also going to tape down my card panel to my card base. I'm going to raise up my little tree, and then I decided that I wanted to do a little sentiment at the top, but I wanted to do like a fishtail, and then I decided to do a fishtail from 2 different strips. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to heat emboss the sentiment Merry Christmas to you and yours, and then I'm going to hold these 2 pieces of paper together, and I'm just going to cut at an angle to make my little fishtail out of 2 different colors, and I'm just going to adjust it. I will be raising this up using some Scotch foam tape, and I will have another little itty bitty lawn fawn bow at the very end of my card. This finished off this card. For my third card, I'm going to have to apologize ahead of time. I thought my camera was recording and it had stopped, so I'm just going to walk you through everything I did for this long card. I started by heat embossing the dotted snow pattern onto my card panel, and then ink blending some Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink on top of that. I made a snowy hill border for the bottom of my card, and I adhered it down just using my tape runner. I then raised up the stickers of Santa's sleigh with the reindeer and the tree on foam squares, and then I tucked away the candy cane sticker at the back of the hill, and then I stuck another one on my hill just for some interest. I heat embossed Sending You Holiday Cheer using some Princess Gold embossing powder onto some green cardstock, and then I used just other stickers that came in this kit for some embellishments. I wasn't happy with the sentiment because I originally had taped it down, so I just used some foam tape to tape it to the very top of my card, and then I just kind of really wanted to walk you through everything so that way you guys can know. I am very sorry. This is what happens when, you know, you go kind of quickly and you don't like how something is going, you know? So I'm very, very sorry about this, but yeah, that's more or less what I did. For my fourth card, I was very inspired by Dell and Artie. If you don't know who Dell and Artie is, his real name is Daniel, and he's a designer for Brutus Monroe. I love his stuff, and occasionally he does a series called A Pretty Mean Card, and I live for it because it's so super shady. So when I saw 2 stickers of this pack that looked like it could probably make a really shady card, I was here for it. So that's what I'm gonna do for this card. I started out by using my Distress Oxide ink in the colors Faded Jeans and then Black Soot, and I'm just going to ink blend that all over the back, and then I go ahead and kind of double over with my Faded Jeans just to give it a little bit more of a night, you know? Once I was done with that, I decided to take out my white gel pen to make some stars in the sky, something a little bit different than what I'm used to with all of the splatter, but I felt like, why not? I've been doing these a lot for the green envelopes I'm sending all of my long holiday cards in, so I felt like, you know, bringing it into card making and showing you guys that it's kind of easy to make your own background with just like minimal resources, so that was kind of fun. After I was done with my sky, I made a snowy hill border with some scrap paper, and then the 2 stickers that I'm going to use are going to be Santa carrying the toys and the big pickup truck with the tree in the back. And I don't know why, but to me this looks like Santa stole Christmas. He stole the pickup truck and he stole the family's tree. I don't know what this family did to make Santa mad, but like, they need to hide their kids, hide their toys, and hide their wives because Santa is stealing everything around here. So yeah. I heat embossed Merry Christmas on a piece of mint strip, or of mint cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and then I just go ahead and raise that up using some Scotch foam tape, and just as a little ominous warning at the bottom, because I couldn't resist, I stamped down, he's making a list and checking it twice with some Festive Berries Distress Oxide ink. And I don't know if that doesn't say kind of mean, kind of shady, alluding to some ominous nature of Santa because he's breaking in your window and snatching your toys up. I don't know what does. But yeah, this card was a lot of fun, so I can totally see why Elle and Artie makes this. I'm going to link down to his Instagram and YouTube channel so you guys can take a look at his stuff, okay? This card was a lot of fun, and once I raised this up on some Scotch foam tape, that finished off this card. For my fifth card, I wanted to make a simple card, so I took this paper with the scene strips and I cut off one of the scenes just so I can kind of have the rest of the paper to hoard for the next year, as you guys know I often do. So I decided to kind of like take out all of the card bases that I had made already, and I was kind of torn between two different card bases. I didn't really use many of the blue card bases that came in this kit, but anyway, I decided to use this white one just because I felt like it balanced all of the colors in my card thus far. I took out a piece of apple cardstock and I decided that I wanted to kind of make a raised panel from that. Originally, I wanted to make a dual panel where the green paper was raised up on foam squares, but I decided against it. I only went with just one of the panels. So I go ahead and I tape down my scene directly onto my card base, and then I raised up that green apple, or the apple green border onto my card base using some foam squares. Once that was done, I took the stickers that use the "Here Comes Santa Claus" at the bottom of my sentiment, and then I added a couple of little embellishments from the sticker pack just to give it a little bit more flair, because I still felt like this card didn't have enough. And honestly, looking back on it, it was cute. I could have left it like that, but I didn't. I went back into my holiday cheer stamp set and I just took some Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink and I just stamped down that image a couple of times. If anyone is concerned if this is sticky or it will stay sticky, it doesn't. Once it's dry, the clear embossing ink just, you know, looks a little bit darker than whatever shade you stamped it on. So it's kind of cool. It's not sticky. You will be fine if you want to use that technique, okay? Anyway, that finished off this card. For my sixth card, I really wanted to make a card that looked like mail art. As you guys know, I love sending mail out. I love sharing the stacks of cards that I'm forever sending out to my friends. So for me, this card was actually my favorite card out of the bunch, and I absolutely love it. I might make a long card just like this and send it out to my friends, just because they're all getting long cards anyway. I want to give a little disclaimer. I do clean my stamps. I just don't do it right now because it does interrupt my creative flow. I'm one of those people that cleaning is normally like an anxiety reliever, and creativity is like the complete opposite of anxiety for me. So stopping in the middle just to do tedious things takes away from my inspiration. The colors of the Distress Oxide inks that I'm using right now are Tumbled Glass, Festive Berries, and Worn Lipstick. I believe all of these have actually come in previous Simon Says Stamp kits, so that's why I have them. I took out my Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink just to ink up my sentiments, which will act as Santa's address, and I'm going to do the same thing for my little corner where, historically I guess, I would be putting my address up there. So yeah, I really liked how this turned out. My address essentially just says, "Wishing you a very Merry Christmas to you and yours." And I don't know, I really like this. I don't know, there's something like really simple about it that I really like, but it just has so much there. I love stationery, I love stamps. My local post office swears I'm collecting stamps. I'm not, I just love to send mail. So yeah, I was living for this card. Anyway, once I was done kind of like, you know, stamping all of these things down, I realized that I hadn't used those beautiful snowflakes for anything. And I was a little bit sad because they are beautiful. I just expected a lot of other people to be doing some stuff with the snowflakes, so I didn't, but for this I decided to. I take out my Distress ink and Twisted Citron just to give a little bit more of a contemporary Christmas vibe to this card, and I just start inking up my snowflakes with some of that color, and then I'm going to use the 3 remaining Distress Oxide ink that I used for the stamps for other snowflakes, and I'm just going to stamp them down directly onto this card panel without giving it too much thought. I didn't want it to be too busy, and again, I don't know why. I could have left it like this, guys. It looks really pretty, it looks really nice, but I couldn't stop, so I decided to go ahead and stamp down the sign at the corner of my card panel and then use the directional sentiments to fill the inside of that. I don't color it just because I'm a little bit burnt out from coloring from my last card that you saw in, you know, my channel. It was a lot of coloring, so I was just kind of like against coloring. Anyway, once I was done with that, I raised up my card panel using some Scotch foam tape, and once I was done with that, that finished off this card. For my 7th card, I wanted to keep it real with you guys. I kind of was inspired by the pretty mean spirit that Elle and Artie does, so I wanted to make a card that in my head seemed awesome, but when I did it, I didn't really like it, but I still wanted to share it with you guys. I wanted to take this awesome naughty or nice checklist, but instead of having it filled out, I wanted to use the stickers to come up with excuses as to why I might be naughty or why I might be on the naughty list this year. And I really did think it was a cute idea, but I didn't like the execution of it. I honestly think it was just the colors that I chose for it that made it kind of odd, but you know what? Not everything can be a slam dunk, so I still wanted to share it with you guys. This card is pretty straightforward. I use mint cardstock as the little base for my stickers, and I just use other stickers from the pack to add a little bit of razzle dazzle. I do go into my stash and use some Doodlebug gold sprinkles to add a little bit of interest to this, but honestly that finished off this card. Not my best work, but you can't win them all, right? For my last card, I really wanted to do something super easy and simple, so I took this holly paper from the paper pack and I did take a strip of the Rouge paper presentation paper that looks exactly like the lipstick red paper from Simon Says Stamp, and I began to heat emboss the sentiment "Wishing you a Merry Christmas to you and yours" with Princess Gold embossing powder. I cut all of the strips into pieces to give my simple card a little bit of interest, and I also raised all of those pieces using some foam tape. Up to this point, I had forgotten that this kit brought sequins, so I took out some of them to play with, and I just kind of adhered them down using my clear lacquer pen from Hero Arts. Then I remembered I'd gotten some amazing sequins from Crafting with Elle on Instagram. She is a crafter that also sells sequin mixes, and I really like the sequin mixes she sent me. If you guys don't check it out, I'm just letting you know, like, you're missing out. She also does custom sequin mixes in case you find something that you kind of want something more of, or if you see something else that you want to be mixed with things, then yeah. This particular sequin mix had a bunch of different shapes, so I figured I would build a little holly at the bottom just to match the holly paper. And I didn't realize that my holly had adhered a little bit crooked. We're just gonna have to live with that fact. You know, it's the little tiny mistakes that make the homemade cards more homey. So yeah, I just go ahead and I first use my clear lacquer pen, but to adhere the bulkier pieces, I take out my multimedia mat to just adhere them into my card. And yeah, after I was done adhering everything, I decided to take out my oyster gray Nuvo drops and just kind of put them in the center of my things so I can just kind of hide any clear lacquer coming out of them. I adhere this down to my blue card base using my tape runner, and that finished off this card. Well guys, let's take a really quick look at all the cards that we made this time around. Thank you guys so much for sticking around through all of this. I know this was a long video. I know it went by maybe a little bit quick for some, maybe it was a little bit annoying for others, but either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that you guys have a great holiday season. Take care.